Hey, welcome into Texans on Tap. I'm Brandon Strange alongside Charlie Palillo and Josh Jordan. You can follow them on X at Palillo and at Josh Jordan SCS. Before we get going, hit like on the video to show your support for the channel. Click that bell for notifications. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We appreciate all the support. Charlie, Josh, welcome in. It wasn't pretty like most Houston games. It also wasn't without controversy. Texans win their fourth straight, beating the Colts in Indy 2016. They improved to 7-5 on the season, and their playoff hopes are very much alive and in their own hands now. We'll get to the controversial stuff a little later. Obviously, the big headline coming into this game was the return of CJ Stroud to the lineup. We'll start right there. Charlie, what did you see out of the returning CJ?
Mixed bag, the terrible interception early, right? The anti-Davis Mills of the last three games. The one early one against Jacksonville. I think he had a little ring rust to knock off. Thought he made a couple of questionable throwing decisions. The ball in the flat could have been a pick six, a game loser, but the linebacker didn't make the play. I thought his accuracy got better as the game went along. And as usual, when the Texans win, it's not because of the offense, wasn't flat out in spite of the offense, but defense. I mean, this was the sequel to the Buffalo game where the opponent missed an early extra point and late in the game needed a touchdown, not a field goal, and could not go the distance against the Texans defense.
Yeah, and speaking of field goals and extra points, the Fairbairn one, my Lord, that could have been a killer there. And I kind of said to myself too, like, I bet he misses this. And sure enough, they ruled it fair, but man, that could go either way. But overall, I think CJ did okay. I didn't like the throw either. He was trying to hit Hutchinson for the interception. Also, just wasn't just a bad throw. He was bracketed in double coverage. There wasn't really any space to get him the ball there. Just not a great decision. But this is why Brandon and I were kind of concerned when we were previewing this game. We just didn't know what CJ was going to show up. We didn't know what the offense was going to look like. Great win. I'm super excited that they pulled this off because you see that the Colts, they had the Jags twice more the rest of the season. So hopefully they beat up on each other a little bit. Good to see Nico getting going. And Higgins is really starting to show me something. As far as some concerns, does any team get stuffed at the line trying to run the ball more than the Texans? I mean, how many 0-yard runs they continue to have? But what he marks, he popped a few today. But once again, I mean, what do he have? He had 19 attempts for 64 yards, 3.3 average. Not great, but when they needed him to pick up a key first down at the end of the game, he got through there and made a play for you. And once again, Brandon got hurt. What he marks, left the game and came back in. So he's tough. We got to give him that.
Low center of gravity on that game-clinching first down where he just was able to keep his balance low to the ground and skitter forward for the first down. And on the tail of two quarterbacks, I know we can go deeper wherever we choose. Stroud, the return after missing 3 games. Daniel Jones, as it surfaced late in the week, playing with a broken leg. Not the weight-bearing bone, but it ties to the ankle. And while Daniel Jones is no Lamar Jackson, he is a mobile quarterback, and that was absolutely out of the Colts game plan today. We saw the Texans blitz a lot more than the Texans generally do because they didn't have to fear Daniel Jones eluding that and making plays with his legs. The Texans only with 1 sack recorded in the game, and that by Sheldon Rankins. But, I mean, Will Anderson just absolutely trucked 2 different Colts offensive linemen. Hunter was basically neutralized today, but Anderson, one of his 2 times where he blew up the play, I mean, that was Bernard Ryman, a Pro Bowl level left tackle that Will Anderson made look like some middle schooler or something.
Yeah, Josh, you talked about how many times can a team get stuffed at the line. I don't think that was any further exemplified in Houston's second possession of the fourth quarter when they go back-to-back tush-push with Cade Stover and pick up 0 yards for it. It was incredible. I want to get back to that in a second, but we talked about the controversy in this game, and it started with that first possession of Houston in the fourth quarter where they're at 3rd and 15. The clock winds down, the play clock winds down to 0. The snap happens. There's no delay of game called, but the Colts end up getting called for a PI of the ticky-tack variety down the field, which converts to first down. They convert on the drive, get the field goal, get the touchdown, and then get credit for what you called a very questionable point after attempt by Fairbairn, which gets credited for the point, but really looked like it didn't completely clear the inside of the upright there. What did you guys see in that possession and that drive? And did Houston get away with one there?
No Texans fan can ever again say, man, we just never get any calls. Because in this game on the road, and no one can accuse J.J. Watt of being a Texans homer as he calls a Texans game. From the calls that he was, geez, the Texans looked to have gotten over on that one, to his rightful calling out of the what the hell was that strategy offensively late in the first half. But, Texans at Kansas City, where it seems like they can never get a call. This is some sort of delayed balancing of the scale on one level. Sometimes you get calls, sometimes you don't. I give them credit since they've been so pathetic in short yardage and goal line that, okay, let's try the tush push. And it worked twice with Stover going to the well. I was very surprised they didn't challenge the spot on the third down play. The fourth down, they clearly didn't get it. But giving the Colts the ball at the Indy 17-yard line, the Texans D is tough to have to go 83 yards for a game-winning score, and the Colts couldn't pull it off.
No, I guess with the tush push, the problem I have is arguably Jake Andrews is, he really is. He's your worst offensive lineman. So with the game on the line, we're going to run behind him 2 times in a row. It just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. They did convert some earlier in the game. I get that. On the penalties, I also thought the Colts got away with one. There was a ball that clearly looked kind of way out of bounds to Pierce, where they called a PI on Bullock there. I didn't think the ball was catchable, not that he didn't grab him. So I think that kind of went against the Texans. And then on the pass interference on Hutch, I get it. He did just kind of grab his arm. It was a very slight play, a very slight amount of contact, but it was right as he was turning around. The ball was coming to him right in that moment. So just that little disruption really did make a difference. So I didn't have as big a problem with that as obviously the clock winding down. But we do see that on both sides in the NFL, where you'll see it hit 0 and they don't throw the flag sometimes. They don't get to it. So it was nice for one to go the Texans' way.
On the more play, I would say this. Okay. Questionable, if not bad flag. But you know what? You're supposed to know down and distance and have field presence. 3rd and 15, Hutchinson's a check down 10-yard route. You want to be close to the first down on that play. So Moore was dumb to give an official any opportunity to throw a flag.
Can I bring that up just real quick? What is with this excellent Texans defense being so terrible on 3rd and forever? This goes back to that Bills game. We saw that. What would they get? Pick up 3 or 4 3rd and longs in a row where they were going to downs over and over again in this game. For some reason, when the Texans get to 3rd and 20, they just don't play it well. I hope that doesn't come back to bite them, because we're consistently seeing this happen every week. You would think when you get into 3rd and 18 it'd be a good thing, but they keep giving up those first downs over the last couple of weeks.
Though at least the Downs was a catch of the year candidate, pulling that one in on the sideline and getting the feed in. Sometimes just credit to the other guys who are drawing paychecks too.
Yep.
Yeah, there was another questionable call. A Bullock stuffs Taylor for 1, but looks like a face mask on that play. He's got him around the helmet. On replay, they talk about how it probably should have been called a face mask given the control that he has over the helmet. What did you guys see in that play?
I think ultimately, if there was absolute football justice, there would have been a flag, especially in a league that purports to be hyper-focused on player safety above all else. And there are those who say, hey, personal fouls, any personal foul should be a reviewable call. It was not, and the Colts just had to live with it. Sometimes you get the whistles and the flags, and sometimes you don't. But in the Colts case, this could accelerate an absolute collapse out of the playoffs. When you look at their schedule, the Jaguars now are in the pole position in the division. The Texans are still a game back of the Colts, but getting the Colts here to end the regular season, I'm not calling that an automatic for the Texans, but if the Texans want to be in the playoffs, hey, you have to win that game. And the rest of their schedule, other than at Kansas City next week, if they can go pull one off finally in Arrowhead, the Texans have a damn good shot of running the table and finishing 12-5 from an 0-3 start. Tease alert. I don't think I'm going to pick them to beat the Chiefs, who are now in total desperation mode in a Sunday night football game. Nevertheless, for the Texans to have elevated themselves to this position, you guys are the ones wearing caps, so you'd have to doff them. I can't, other than figuratively.
Yeah, I think on the face mask, if you would have seen him turn in his head, I think it would have been called. It's just he didn't really tug very much, even though ticky-tack wise, it probably was a penalty. But there was also, I thought, a BS roughing the passer call on Tim Settle. So these things go both ways.
They do, and I want to reinforce that too, because I thought that before that happened, there was that Pierce catch for 23 that happened, and Will Anderson Jr. was absolutely tackled to the ground on that play while he was in pursuit of the quarterback. He ended up with the defender on his back on the ground, and there's no flag on that. So there's going to be times in which these penalties, there's going to be fouls that happen that are not called on defenders, offensive players. But unfortunately, if you're an Indy fan today, it looks disproportionate from your standpoint. We've talked about little plays here and there. We talked about the amount of conversions on 3rd and forevers that have happened during the season, 4th and forevers in some cases. But what did you see today out of the defense? You talked about, Will Anderson Jr. giving everybody heck at the on the O-line. Danielle Hunter was putting pressure, but didn't really have any sacks to show for it per se. But what did you guys see out of the defense?
I'll frame it this way. The Colts had scored at least 20 points in every game they played this season. The Texans held them to 16. And as opposed to, say, the Denver game, Jacksonville earlier in the year, where the Texans defense played a very good game until it was time to close, and they gave it up. In this game, they did not. Only one sack, but in the end, it's like a pitcher racking up strikeouts. If you give up more runs than the other guy, then you struck out 13. Who cares? The Texans only had one sack. Hey, they gave up only 16 points. Jonathan Taylor got going late. I think he had 3 double-digit yard runs in the fourth quarter, but he didn't hit any home runs. And for the day, 21 carries for 85 yards. That's a hair over 4 yards per carry. For the season, Taylor was at 5.8 coming in, an Offensive Player of the Year candidate. So it's another A game from a Texans defense that for the season is an A to A+.
Yeah, clearly it wasn't the sacks why they held it down today, but they did a good job at putting pressure on Daniel Jones. I mean, look at Tyler Warren. He was their receiving leader so far this year. He got that touchdown, but that was about it. 3 catches for 22 yards. Pierce is the one that led them with 78 yards, and he tends to get the Texans when he faces them. But overall, I was super impressed with the defense. And on a day where you see the Rams go lose to the Panthers, you just go, way to go, Texans. You got out of there with a win. It could have gotten hairy at the end when they went for it on 4th down, didn't get it. They could have gone up by 7, but they chose not to. But they got the win in Indy. CJ's back. All signs pointing up right now.
T.Y. Hilton did nothing against the Texans in this game. Hey, they've won 3 in a row at Indy now.
Yeah, and
being 0 and forever against Peyton Manning and then Andrew Luck. Now it's almost taking on a tone of what Jacksonville used to be as the Texans' home away from home.
And one thing we haven't touched on here was the giant. I don't want to say it was fortunate, but Texans were the beneficiary of an early Sauce Gardner injury that sends him down with some sort of calf injury. He was sidelined with a boot for the remainder of the game. So Texans clearly catch a break there. Obviously, you never root for anyone to get injured, but you can be the beneficiaries of an unfortunate circumstance. Texans are in that standpoint. I want to shift back to the offense for just a second, because for the first 6 games of the season, it really looked like we were headed towards a one and done season for offensive coordinator Nick Caley. Now you look up, they're 7-5. It's very realistic to get to a 10-win, 11-win season at this point. Charlie, you talked about perhaps running the table. If Texans somehow are able to grab double-digit wins out of this season that started very ugly. Does that allow Nick Caley to keep his job?
Oh, I don't think he's in any jeopardy. It's a rush to judgment world. What have you done for me lately? Certainly. But when you were a blank canvas, you'd never been an offensive coordinator before. And the first 3 games, you barely get in the end zone. And then you have a couple of clunkers after that. So his body of work was, come on now. But they've stabilized. I mean, they're not lighting people up. 20 points offensively is not a huge day. 23 against the Bills team that can't stop anyone running the football is not a huge day. But they haven't been god-awful days. So, letting the stew simmer generally is not the fan outlook, unless the Texans revert to their offensive form of the first 3 games of the season. I don't think Caley's at any risk at all.
Yeah, I'm still not super impressed with Caley, but I'm with you. I don't think he's going anywhere. But let's not forget how this game started with a bunch of terrible illegal formation penalties where guys didn't look like they knew where to line up. I mean, and there was multiple of those. And then they had to call a timeout because they almost had another one. And then you had CJ Stroud like throwing a pass like 2 yards past the line of scrimmage early in this game. There was a lot of weird stuff that was happening there. And they really struggle at running the ball. But I mean, this is kind of the team they are right now. I think they have their best 5 for their offensive line. It seems like it's starting to at least stabilize a little bit and be decent. But, there were still some sacks that were pretty ugly in this game. But that's going to happen when you face a good front. So overall, you'll take it. But I just want to point out, this was a really sloppy start to this game. There were penalties everywhere. And it took a while. I think a lot of it was CJ just kind of knocking the rust off and getting everybody going.
It's not a really good offense. At least they're not hemorrhaging sacks. 2 in the game today. And CJ Stroud, I mean, you want a quarterback who will hang in the pocket or elude and buy some time. But there are also plays where he just holds the ball a little long and get rid of it. But I think by and large, if you're going to throw it 35 times, you'll live with just 2 sacks against the Texans. And other than the 1 pick early, a one turnover game, you want clean, but if you don't give it up multiple times, you should be, with this defense, in position to have a shot to win every game. And they've won 4 in a row now. And all the close games that they could not win to save their season early in the season, now they're back to the form of, especially D'Amico's first year, but also last year, when close games, they were winning the majority.
And I'll say something nice about Caley. I did like the play call to Nico Collins on the end around for the touchdown. They got a little creative there, made sure they got it in the end zone. And Nico's a big dude. If you just give him a little space, he can usually bully himself for a few more yards. And that's what he did. So that was a good job there at getting in the end zone. And how about Nick Chubb? Just a regular run play. They actually ran one into the end zone. So there are some positive things they're going on here. And we know the defense is awesome. We just want the offense to be good enough not to limit the defense, just to where they're not on the field all the time. So I think they are moving in that direction.
Yeah, not just Nick Chubb running for a touchdown. Nick Chubb finding the edge, highly unlikely circumstance in there, but I think that was Stover with a really good block in front of him that led the way there. It was ugly, and like you said, at this point, we just expect ugly games. The Texans want to make these games ugly. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally, it's ugly. You talked about the rough start to the game. How about CJ flushing himself out of a clean pocket? That was a very interesting scenario to see. A little bit of the happy feet. Again, I think part of this goes back to what Charlie talked about, was I think just trying to brush off some of that early rust. I think there was obviously some issues with him finding his receivers, understanding his depth perception on the field, and I think getting a little bit too anxious with the feet and moving around a little bit too much. But happy to have him back. He is an upgrade over Davis Mills. So we find ourselves at the end of the show here. Everybody who's hung out and reacted with us, we appreciate it. Now is your time to participate in the show again, which is give us your MVP of the game in the comments section. Also, while you're here, give us a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Charlie, who was your MVP of Texans Colts?
I didn't see a clear choice in this game. Stroud had pretty solid numbers, but no touchdown passes, 1 interception, but certainly good to have him back. It raises the Texan ceiling. I'm going Nico Collins, who
Yeah.
pretty pedestrianly had 5 catches, 98 yards, almost a 100-yard catch game. And while Devontae Adams is about locked up 1 all-pro receiver slot, 14 touchdown catches with the Rams, Nico has a paltry 4. Didn't catch one today, but ran for 1. That was pretty important. So it wasn't one of his 5 greatest games, but 5 for 98 week in, week out, and a touchdown. You just have a season of those games, and you're going to the Pro Bowl. So I'll go Nico Collins.
Yeah, I was going to go with Nico also, but I'll go on the other side of the ball. And I know he didn't light up the stat column, but Will Anderson, that dude just makes a difference when he's on the football field.
Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with either one of those. It's funny that I'm looking at Nico's rushing stats. He had the best average of the day, one carry of 7 yards. Yeah, it's there aren't any really standout performances. I think this was a good, I think what D'Amico would call a team win. So everybody continue to put your MVP in the comments there. That's going to be it for this show. Charlie and Josh and I will be back next week to preview the Chiefs game. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Man, it is coming down to the wire. We could not have predicted how interesting this season was going to be at the front end of it, but that's why you have to wait for a full season. Don't rush to judgment on a team. This is where they're at right now, and it's very exciting. So we're extremely excited to be along there with you. We hope that you are along for the ride with us the rest of the way. Again, for Charlie and Josh, I'm Brandon saying so long until next time. Go Texans.